All right, Iron Bowl, Auburn, number 13, Alabama. Alabama's an 11.5-point favorite. The over-under I have is 3 mentions of Gravedigger. Yeah. Sorry, Auburn fans. I know you're riding high right now. Best win in 3 years. Made it that much sweeter that it happened in the midst of Bama just getting its doors blown off for loss number 3. I'm not here just to bring up bad memories or mention the fact that Alabama is currently in the midst of its longest Iron Bowl winning streak since the Bear Bryant era. I'm not just here to bring up things like that. But that play was pretty sick. You got to admit. All right. Like, y'all have had your fun in the Iron Bowl with the more memorable plays. It was probably about time that Bama had a memorable play to add to this lore of this rivalry. And it definitely got that last year. Obviously, very different times at Alabama right now compared to where they were at last year, where they just had one loss and they were going into the SEC championship and they had playoff hopes alive. Kalen DeBoer's first Iron Bowl will be on Saturday. He told the media that every day since he took this job, someone has brought up the Iron Bowl to him. That's a rivalry, folks. Sorry, national rivalry. I will push back on that, Sam Macho. All right, I will.
I was waiting for it. Yep, that's. I mean, Roll Tide War Eagle, like the documentary, is truly a documentary. Like I remember when I moved to Alabama, when I moved to Hoover, it was after the LSU title, and it was just like, hey man, who you pull for? LSU. No, but like Alabama or Auburn.
Yeah, exactly. No.
Auburn, I guess.
Son,
like, Savage, this is pretty easy. Yeah, no. We don't care about LSU. Wrong Tigers. Auburn, got it.
Yeah,
end of conversation.
Yeah. I would bet if you asked Kalen DeBoer who was the last Auburn quarterback to beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa, he would probably come up with the answer Cam Newton. I would hope, at least. Mm-hmm. Peyton Thorne ain't Cam Newton. Nobody's Cam Newton. Sometimes I question if Cam Newton was Cam Newton.
I would go ahead and say, of everyone that's ever been compared to Cam Newton, this person's the least like him. Peyton Thorne.
I almost didn't even want to put it in there with the negative, just for the possibility that I could mess it up and say something that would be disrespectful to Cam Newton. Mm-hmm. I would never do that. I would never do such a thing. The question that's actually realistic for this game is if Peyton Thorne can be Jackson Arnold. That's more relevant to this Alabama defense. If Hugh Freeze attempts any other game plan than that, he has lost his mind. Auburn fans, if your coach does not follow the quarterback design runs and a run-heavy game plan and just take turns, Thorne and Hunter doing exactly what Oklahoma just did, I'm not saying it's over for Hugh Freeze, but sell your stock. Okay, it ain't happening. If
you held on to Hugh Freeze stock this long and they just beat A&M, this is the hottest Hugh Freeze stock has ever been.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Make this Bama defense, which will be without Deontay Lawson, unfortunately, after he suffered a season-ending injury in that Oklahoma game. Make this defense defend the quarterback run game. You have to. Auburn can execute that game plan with Thorne and Hunter. How many times on the broadcast are we going to hear Thorne's actually, faster than he gets credit for? Why are you saying that? We know why. Defensively, Auburn can absolutely contain Jalen Milroe. They can do a lot of the things that Oklahoma did. I really believe that. I think that this is one of the most underrated units in all of college football. I said that the other day. The overtime numbers are going to kind of skew what they were. Obviously, they blew that lead against A&M, but this is still a group that's 16th in the country in yards per play allowed. DeMarcus Riddick, the true freshman, he has stepped up. He's been great. He also stepped up to the microphone on Monday and said something that I think he's going to want back. Saw this from Johnny Congdon earlier in the week. Riddick said, quote, "Ryan Williams ain't no big-time player to me." And then he guaranteed that he wouldn't lose to Bama while he's at Auburn.
That's like the Mad Lib of things you can't get. Which player have you been watching if you don't think Ryan Williams is? I've never been more sure a player is a big-time player.
Big-time player to me. And by the way, the entire argument I made in the preseason about why the likelihood of Ryan Williams being a big-time player from the jump is not likely, that stat about how Jalen Waddle is the only SEC receiver as a true freshman to have at least 800 receiving yards since 2016. Ryan Williams joined that club. He's at 804. He's 44 yards behind Waddle, who played 15 games that first season. Maybe he's going to get the 44 yards on that first play, and he's going to have some sort of a celebration for Riddick on that one. But I fully expect Ryan Williams to make big-time plays. How about this? How about Ryan Williams, game-winning touchdown? Milroe does it again late in the Iron Bowl. Bama wins a thriller, a national rivalry worthy thriller, 24-21.
Monday was a weird day for SEC stories. I feel like I
It
texted you a
was.
ton Monday. They had the Ole Miss stuff with Ulysses Bentley. Florida got hot on the recruiting show. We discovered a third Weeks brother at LSU. We had this quote over here that was just like, "Brother, have you ever been to a class of any kind? Like, just like, why would you ever?" And like, I texted you. I'm like, dude, I remember when I was in like media. They didn't even let us talk to freshmen.
Yeah,
So
true
like,
freshmen a lot of the time will not get to talk at all, even if you're a stud. Now,
yeah.
there are different rules, and Auburn's been a little bit more open with the media. I think they make a lot of players available. But like you'll have true freshman quarterbacks that are playing, and like Johnny Manziel famously during his Heisman season, like wasn't going to be available to the media as a redshirt freshman. And there are things that certain programs can make a rule, and maybe this is one of those moments in which Auburn looks at it and goes, maybe we don't have our 18-year-olds available to the media, and we just kind of keep that under wraps. But yeah, don't think that's going to bode particularly well. I don't think Auburn fans felt good about seeing that. Let's just say that.
Yeah, it's one of those that it's like, sometimes you're like, these boomers, they won't let us talk to the freshmen even if they're starting. It's like, this is why. Because you don't want an 18-year-old kid almost ever representing your program on national TV, not during a game, right? Because now, again, Jalen Milroe, super duper clutch player, right? The games that they've lost haven't really even needed those situations. Good.
The irony is that Ryan Williams was going to rush the field at Auburn had Gravedigger not happen, and he was like going to commit to Auburn, and that's kind of maybe the genesis for a
Wow.
comment like that. And now the irony is, well, he's having this great true freshman season, and probably Auburn feels just a touch jaded. They love their true freshman receivers. All right. If we get Cam Coleman going back and forth with Ryan Williams, that'd be great. I'd be here for that. But there's no love lost, I think, there.
Yeah, and also like I've seen so many nasty comments about Jalen Milroe on Twitter this week. Like, be nice to Jalen Milroe. He's such a sweet dude. None of this crap is his fault. Just to be honest with you,
What kind of mean stuff though? What kind of mean stuff
I
are we
mean,
talking
people
about?
just say that he needs to hit the portal. That they're happy they don't have to
Oh.
watch him after next year. And it's like, bro. And I've seen like 5, 10, like so many. It's like, bro, like this dude has had to learn so many playbooks for you guys because you couldn't make up your mind. If he had just been with one system, we've seen him play really well. We've seen him play really well in this game. And so, point being, like, if this game were in Auburn, we talked about this a couple of times, I would be like, oh, this might be a scary one. But I think on the road in Tuscaloosa after the big win for Auburn, where Hugh Freeze is, for all intents and purposes, kind of gotten off the hot seat. There's not really a way you can lose to Alabama. I don't think that is that embarrassing considering where Auburn has been and what the big one they had last week. The fact that they're starting to hit some guys on the trail. That was another one that happened. They had the Ohio State flip yesterday. So point being, like, I think that this is not really a back against the wall scenario, which is what Auburn would kind of need. And this one, now granted, Alabama can lose some football games. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, Alabama has found a way, again, not against LSU, but against pretty much everyone else. They've kind of allowed teams to hang out. They've been in these one score games. Again, we talked about with South Carolina earlier. But that being said, I feel like Milroe is not going to have 2 stinkers in a row. I feel like the way that Oklahoma was able to suffocate his legs, yeah, Auburn can do some of that, but I just don't think Jalen Milroe is this super limited passer we saw last week. Like, that was the first time I legitimately saw him regress as a passer and become this guy that, like, the haters, quote unquote, think he is. I don't think he has 2 games in a row like that. I think Bama wins this one by like 10.
Auburn's back is against the wall from the standpoint of they needed to get a bowl berth. And not that we need to add incentive to the Iron Bowl, because you could tell them that they're playing for hot dogs or steaks in a post game, and it would still be enough to get these fan bases, to get these teams feeling like this game is everything. But at the same time, what is that? Like, do you have that gear? Did Auburn play desperate last week? I don't know that they played desperate. I think they honestly just kind of cut out some of the mistakes that we saw plague them early in the year, like with the turnovers. They still had turnovers late in that game against
That's
A&M.
the best part. Like, we talked about this. Hey, they still kind of had the false starts. They still kind of had the turnovers.
Yeah,
they just kind of figured it
you're
out.
right.
Like,
They had the 3 false starts on that final drive, and who knows, maybe they could have had a touchdown there instead of a field goal. But you're right. Like, it's still a team that, like, in any given day, is it going to be surprising if they're in a dogfight late? I don't think so. I probably blowing a fourth quarter lead of some sort, but not necessarily a stunner if they're. And yeah, part of that is the venue, but I just don't know that it's necessarily like this out of body experience for them to play well with Alabama. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yep. Oh, for sure.